So, why do we factor? Today's lesson 10, 12, 21. So our objective today is to factor, to find zeros. And what a zero is any value that makes the equation zero. So we've been factoring this whole time for a reason. We've been factoring to find zero, but we haven't put it to that point yet. We've been factor, so that today should be an easy day. The whole idea is that if we can factor this, we can get our zeros easily, okay? So you see the difference between today and all the other days is this right here, see equals 0? Okay, that's different, isn't it? Which means we're going to have to solve for x, okay? So we will have to solve for x because it equals 0, right? It has an equal sign. Well, the trick to this is to factor. I already know there has to be two answers. Has to be two answers because of the x squared. If it's x cubed, we'd have 3 answers. If it's x4, we'd have 4 answers. If it's x5, we'd have 5 answers. It's as easy as that. It isn't just an x, we'd only have 1 answer, right? So with x squared, there has to be 2 answers. So let's factor first. Well, you guys are getting good at factoring, right? So we'll just go parentheses, 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 parentheses. I know I've got to go x here and x here, right? And then tell me, what do I need? You guys tell me, what do I need here and here? What do I need? Perfect. -5 and +3. Awesome. Nice job, Alonzo. No, we're not done. We're not done. Yesterday we would have been done factoring, but today we still have to solve for x. So what you have, and I'm going to call them mini equations. Well, I have an x minus 5 and an x plus 3. So this is super easy. I'm just going to take my x minus 5 and set it equal to 0. And I'll also take an x plus 3 and set it equal to 0. Now solving for these is going to be pretty tough, huh? Pretty hard equations to solve for. So if I solve for the first mini equation, I just go plus 5, right? One answer is x equals 5. And then -3 minus 3. The other answer is x minus 3. Now you don't have to do this, but I want to show you something. I'm going to go ahead and right there, okay, make an arrow right there. So what did I find? I found zeros. If I do this, just watch, you don't have to do this, but if I took 5, the answer is going to be 0. It's going to be 0. Watch. 0. 5 is a 0. Because when I plug it in, I get an answer of 0. Thumbs up on that. And I should be able to try the -3 also. And -3 is 0, so we found zeros. You do not have to check these, but what did we do? We found 2 answers that make the equation 0. Does that make sense? Thumbs up? Okay. Now, number 2. The thing about number 2 is it needs to equal 0, because they're called zeros, right? So what we need to do is make it equal 0. Well, that means I'm probably going to have to pick up the 3x and bring it over. Well, you can't really pick it up in math, so what am I really going to do? You don't really pick it up. Anybody know how do I bring the 3x over? I subtract it, don't I? I mean, if I minus 3x minus 3x, it brings it over, right? If I minus 3x, it makes it equal to 0. That's what I need. I think by the time we're in Algebra 2, we can just say bring it over. And how do you bring it over? You just subtract it. You guys agree with that? Just subtract it. So I'd have a 2x squared minus 3x plus 1 equals 0. So you have to put it in order. I did. I put it in order. Because I got my x squared. I got my x, my number. It's in order, right? Yes, Lou. Yeah. And now, if I need two answers, right? I need two answers. What I'm going to need to do is factor, right?
Davies, I got one.
You got one? Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to factor because I need two answers. Well, how about 2x, x, and then what? Minus 1, minus 1. Minus 1, because remember the double smiley? Negative 2x, negative 1x. But we're not done because we're going to solve. We got to solve, right? So if we're going to solve, we need to go back to our mini equations, right? That's easy. I'm going to take a 2x minus 1 equals 0 and an x minus 1 equals 0, okay? So we're finding zeros, so we got our mini equations. We just solve our mini equations. Let's solve this one first, okay? I'm going to go plus 1, right? I'm just going to go plus 1, 2x equals 1, right? Divide by 2. So my first 0 is 1/2. That's my first answer. I just solved. Plus 1, divide by 2. Second one to solve for, that's easy. Plus 1, x equals 1. And again, I'm not going to check it, but if I were to take and plug, let's put away, right? 1/2 into this equation, I'll make it 0. Or take 1 and plug into this equation to make it 0. That's why they're called zeros, right? So we have to factor mini equations. Does that make sense? Okay, example 3. So, how many answers? 3. Totally right. There are, I know there's got to be 3 answers. Let's see if we can get 3 answers. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the 8x over. Okay, so this is Algebra 2. You guys know how to do this, right? It's Algebra 2. So, I mean, in our brains, what are we going to do to bring the 8x over? Well, just be smart. What are you going to bring it over? Subtract it, right? So I don't need to show that minus 8x, You guys agree with that? I'm just going to bring it over as a subtract 8x. You okay with that? I can skip some steps because we're not in Algebra 1. So we're going to go, okay, x cubed minus 2x squared minus 8x equals 0. Because it has to equal 0 because I call zeros. Now, how can I make this problem easier? We have to factor. How can I make it easier? Remember? What can I do to make this problem easier? Can you remember? How about x? Do you guys see the x? X? They all have an x in common. You guys agree with that? So if I take out an x, it might make my problem easier. So I common factor. All right, so if I take out an x out of x cubed, how many x's are left over? Good. If I take an x out of x squared, how many x's are left over? If I take an x out of x squared, how many x's are left over? Just 1, right? And if I take the 8 out of the negative 8x, I'm just left with an 8, okay? Now, we can factor this again. So let's factor that. How would you factor x squared minus 2x minus 4? How do you factor that? Yep, x plus 4, x minus 2. Awesome. Now we have our mini equations. I need 3 answers, right? I have my mini equations. I need 3 answers. Well, that's kind of cool because I have 3 equations, right? Now we get 3 answers, right? So we got our mini equations. And let's set each of those equal to 0. All right, I'll go x equals 0. x plus 4 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0, okay? All right, now, this one's already solved. You guys agree x equals 0 is done. It's done. Nothing to do. It's finished. Second, x plus 4, second equation equals 0. Well, I'll solve that. Minus 4, x equals negative 4. Okay? Third equation, what am I going to do? Plus 2. If I were to plug any three of these into my equation, it'd make it 0. How am I doing? Okay. Okay, I'll turn the page when you're ready. Are you ready? Okay. Okay. Example 3. How many answers? 3 answers, right? So, what do you see? Can we make this problem easier? How can we make this problem easier? Take out a 3x. We're going to take out a 3x because 3 divides into both terms, and they both have an x in common. Now, this should make it easier, right? So let's see what's left over. If I take a 3x out, I'd have a x squared. 3 goes into 27 9 times, but I took out an x, okay? Let's see if we can factor again. Factor again. Can we factor again? What's that factor into? Yes, x minus 3, x plus 3. Everybody agree with that? Okay, we need 3 answers. We have 3 mini equations. Let's do it. 3x equals 0 is my first mini equation. X minus 3 is my second mini equation. And x plus 3 equals 0 is my third mini equation. All right. Solve for x. What am I going to do? Divide by 3. Don't let this trick you. 0 divided by 3 is just 0. You guys okay with that? 0 divided by 3 is just 0. That's my first answer. Plus 3, right? Plus 3. X equals 3. Solve for x. Minus 3. Menos 3. So there's my 3 answers, right? Thumbs up? Not too bad. All right, now, example 5. What do I need to do to get it ready? What do I need? Yes, because it needs to equal 0. It's called zeros. So I'm going to add 32. I'll bring 32 over. X cubed minus 2x squared minus 16x plus 32 equals 0. 4 terms. 4 terms. What do we do when we have 4 terms? 4 terms. What do we do? Group them. Group them. There you go. So when we group them, I'm going to cover up these two. Just cover up for a second, right? And what do these two, just these two, have in common? X squared, right? 2 of them, right? Yeah, exactly. They got x squared in common. So they got an x squared in common, just these two. And I have an x minus 2, okay? What do these two have in common?
16 can go into 30.
16, right? And I'm actually going to take out a negative 16. You're going to see why I'm taking out the negative, okay? Because when I take out the negative, I'll have an x minus 2, okay? And I want to do that so these are the same. I needed these to be the same, that's why I took out the negative, okay? Now, one more step. What do they have in common? An x minus 2. What's left over? X squared minus 16. Now, we need 3 equations. We need 3 mini equations, right? I need to find, but I think this will factor again. Won't that factor again? I think this one factors in. Emily, what does that factor into? Do you remember?
Nope.
I'll help you. What times what makes 16? Yes, what else makes 16?
4 times 4.
How about a positive 4 and a negative 4? How does that sound? All right, we need 3 equations. We got 3 equations. We'll get 3 answers. One equation is x minus 2 equals 0, x plus 4 equals 0, and x minus 4 equals 0, right? And if we solve, we get plus 2, x equals 2, right? Minus 4, x equals negative 4. Plus 4, x equals 4. What do you think? Thumbs up so far? Now, all we're going to do in the last example is go and do the opposite. We have the answers. Let's make the original problem. So I need an answer like this. I need something to look like this, or maybe it's going to look like this. I want my answer is going to look like this, or maybe my answer is going to look like this, or like this, or like this. Okay, so how do I do it? Well, I start with my mini equations. If x equals 2 is an answer, okay, then x minus 2 would have made that answer. Okay, don't let this trick you. Okay, if x equals 2 is an answer, it came from this mini equation. You okay with that? If x equals 2 is an answer, it came from this mini equation. If x equals negative 1, what mini equation would have made that answer? X plus 1, right? And x equals 0 is just going to be an x, okay? So now, here's my answer. We're going to say p of x, because polynomial, is equal to this times this times this. I always like the x in front. X times an x minus 2, x plus 1. Okay, now, we're going to go one step further, but wouldn't this... Okay, check it out. This would give me an answer of 0, right? This would give me an answer of 2, and this would give me an answer of negative. So that is the answer. Let's multiply it out and make it look like a polynomial, okay? So how do you multiply something this big out? Well, the first thing I would do is I would ignore this for a second. I'm just going to go that times that times that, okay? Which is going to give me a x squared minus 2x, okay? And then I'm going to remember I had an x plus 1. And then I'm going to multiply. X squared times x is x cubed. X squared times 1 is a 1x squared. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x squared. Negative 2 times 1 is a negative 2x. Looks like these two are the same, aren't they? Those two right there, those are the same. I can add those, or actually subtract them. So p of x is equal to x cubed minus 1x squared minus 2x. This polynomial would have those zeros. Okay, what do you think? Not too bad? Okay, we're